kind of like your own reality TV show. You don't have to wait for someone else to put you on. You can just grab your camera, go meet people in the community, and start filming stuff and telling the story of the people around you. The idea of these interviews as we work on them is to tell the story of local businesses and professionals in the area. And this is going to create content that we can then put on social media to drive awareness about what these businesses are doing, and also the kind of work we're doing. This first interview we're doing today is we're actually going down to I95 Muscle and Hopemills. So they sell like classic muscle cars and a lot of fun stuff like that. So this is going to be fun to actually go into their place, show you around, tell you about what they're doing, how they've come to be, and hopefully generate some new awareness for what they're doing. 'Cause they've got some really cool cars, and it's going to be fun to hear the stories about how they found those cars, just that whole process of building up a classic car dealership in this area. So that's the plan for today. They are doing stuff on social media, which is kind of cool. Hoping we can kind of delve into that a little bit and get some background on what they're been working on, how that's been playing out, and also so you get the story of what they've been doing, how it works. Matt here at I95 Muscle with the owners. So I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Hey, my name is Kalvin Daniels, one of the owners here.
Mitch Peterson, the other owner.
So, do you want to give like a quick story of how you got into the owning I95 Muscle, like the story of how this came to be, and what was it like the classic cars that got you into it, or what exactly that got you onto where you are today?
Well, I think we've always kind of been into classic cars, and who wants to work for somebody else?
Yeah.
So I mean,
my first car was a 70 Mustang, so we got a chance to build a whole car kind of from scratch with my dad and tear it down and paint it and have something that was unique versus something else that was sitting in the high school parking lot. So always had a love for a car that stands out a little bit, and Fayetteville just kind of had that void for a place to get a tricked out truck or a lifted truck or something with a lot of power or over 3 years old, and we were able to fill that void. So
yeah, that was going to kind of exactly lead into my next question, like why do you exist as a company? Like what is that problem that needed to be solved, or that unmet need, and you kind of hit on that.
Well, so together I think we did 20 years at franchise stores.
Okay.
Lee Hyundai here in Fayetteville, and then a couple other ones in town and outside of town, and just got bored with new cars and in general the way a franchise store wants you to treat their customers. It's like they have this idea of the longer a customer is at their store, the more money they're going to spend, and that's true for a bar where you're going to buy more drinks if you eat some food too, but people don't want to spend 5 hours in a car dealership. They want to buy something and get out.
Yeah, they're looking for like that frictionless experience than I think like that's one of the big things a lot of people hate about cars has been that haggling around the price, and that I think after buying a couple of cars, the experience has always been I felt like they're trying to get something out of me, and I just want to get around in a vehicle that meets my needs for what I'm doing.
And that feeling that you felt doesn't only start from that dealership. There are corporate trainers that Kia are going to send to each Kia dealership to train the managers on how Kia wants them to treat their customers, and that guy that's training your people, that's going to train your people, is never going to talk to one of your customers, and probably hasn't in 20 years, so they have no idea what that customer is.
There's that big disconnect between the people on the floor and the corporate office and Never Land. And I think that's something I think a lot of it, like the small business world, that's part of what's driven them, is recognize that disconnect between the big nameless corporate world versus what you actually see every day as you work your craft.
So we give a little bit more personalized of an experience where you're going to be working with either Kalvin or me that starts the car for you from the very beginning or reaches out to you from your internet inquiry or phone call all the way to handing you an envelope with your paperwork in it when you're done.
So it's a much more hands-on, personal.
Yep.
That's something I realized very quickly is a lot of people think in terms of like business to consumer and business to business instead of thinking human to human. Like business is the most human thing we do. Animals don't buy and sell, but people do. And there's a big relational aspect to it that like the economists and the NBAs and all that, they leave out that these are two people interacting.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I've noticed, especially when you walk into like the smaller, like mom and pop, like owner operator type organization is, it feels different. You can tell there's someone in that building that actually cares versus running the numbers and it's, oh, well, we're up 12% this year, so yay, never mind the angry complaint bin over there. What's one of the things that you think really separates like the classic cars from the modern cars sitting on the showroom today? And what's that evolution been from what was to what we have today?
I feel like classic cars, they're all absolutely unique. One way or the other, you're not going to look at a 70s Camaro and a 70s Mustang and be like, oh, they copied each other on this or that. But you look at two newer cars and they're like, they got the same this or that going on. And back then they weren't using. You want me to hold up? Or?
No, you're good. I got this camera on you.
All right. Back then, back in the good old days, they weren't using a cookie cutter to make every car. It seems like they were, making some pretty special editions and stuff that was going to become collectibles. And nowadays, new cars are like, you see 300 Elantras on a lot, and it's like, where's the uniqueness?
They lack that personality that the older.
Yeah.
So yeah, the biggest thing I noticed is back in the classic car era, they changed something on the cars every year. Whether it was the corner lens or going from one headlight to two or double stacked to side by side or vent windows versus not vent windows and side gills and taillights in the bumper or above the bumper or wheel well openings, whatever they changed, they tweaked something. And you would have like a 5 or 6 year span where they're the same kind of frame or body style, but your headlights and grille were different. And now nobody does that. They look the same. The '09 Ram just looked like that until 2018. So they look the same.
There's that definite batch.
The Titan looked the same from '04 to 17.
Yeah.
It didn't get that's 13 years before they put new headlights on the truck.
Yeah.
And then they still couldn't afford to build their own truck and they just put Nissan headlights and grille on a Dodge. So pretty much.
Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed is like reading like the kind of the history of like quality management and manufacturing, how like the Attribution, they went to like batch parts. Well, we're going to design 6 engines and they'll be the entire lineup. Like the small cars will get these 2, the mid-size will get these 3, and then the sports cars and the trucks will get this 3 variations or whatever, versus like having much more like a tailored original design.
Yeah, and if you built your car back in the day, if you built a 70 Chevelle and you went to the Chevy dealership, not even the website that didn't exist, you went to a dealership, you talked to a person, they brought out a build sheet, you picked a Chevelle, you picked bucket seats or bench seat, you picked whatever motor Chevy made. If they made it that year, you could get it in that car.
Okay.
And whatever transmission you wanted to go with it, and then the 12 or 14 bolt rear end.
Dealer installed options nowadays are like, if you're lucky, nitrogen on your tires and maybe a spoiler.
All weather floor mats.
Yeah.
Maybe some pinstripe that's $9.95.
So it's become much more cookie cutter, and that last like hands-on mile walking into the dealership and ordering your car is kind of given away to the mass-produced. This is what it is for this block of model years. I think, was it now, like you look at like GM and Ford, they're using the same transmission in how many vehicles? Like they're just designing like 1 or 2 transmissions for the whole lineup. So
Yeah.
Does that help like quality but hurt the uniqueness, or like how's that trade-off kind of played off as they've progressed over time?
I think your biggest thing is the ease of being able to modify your car.
Oh.
So the new stuff has computers and it's locked, and you have to pay a tuner to unlock it and do this to it. And even if you want to put an intake on it, you don't really get any horsepower until you get somebody to tune it for you. And An old car, you could go to the parts store, buy a new air cleaner that has a different design, and get rid of your original one and pick up 25 horsepower or something without having to change anything.
It was much more of a mechanical process versus now it's much more of a software-defined process.
And I tell a lot of people that come through, you can take this whole car apart with a set of standard wrenches and a Phillips head screwdriver. And you can't barely do anything other than pop the hood and take the engine cover off of a new car.
Everyone loves to hate that giant plastic sheet over the over the engine block now. You don't even know where your spark plugs are hidden.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that earlier when we were talking about gasoline direct injection. That engine cover's purpose is, one, to look good, and two, to hold some noise from the engine where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, because I've noticed, like, you know, gas direct inject has been like the thing. It seems like everybody is somehow working their version of it into their engines. That's been like one of the big shifts. It was, you know, EFI and variable valve timing, and now it seems like direct inject is the thing that everyone's moving to.
Yep, maximum efficiency, maximum power. It's just noisy. That's the only downfall, which bigger engine cover.
Because, you know, you're basically creating like a gas-powered diesel at that point.
Pretty much.
So it almost
Lines like that.
it almost has like that diesel rattle that we've. So what's your favorite car that's either like your favorite car you've had or always wanted, or like the favorite one that's come through here?
Mine's easy.
Well, we just talked about it.
Oh, what's that?
We just talked about it, that have come through here.
Oh,
So we'll
at the
answer
shop.
both.
Not our personal favorites, but the
We
ones.
can do both, like the favorite one that's come through and what your personal favorite is.
So I grew up on K5 Blazers.
Okay.
The K5 Blazer to me is like exactly what a truck / SUV is supposed to look like. Square bodies in general are probably my favorite thing. But we were talking today about maybe the favorite car we've had come through here, and we had a real nice, we call it the flame truck, but it was a 64 F100, and even like it was on airbags, it was tubbed out, had a blower sticking out the hood, it was almost taller than the truck, and it was one of those things where you could pull it next to like a pretty low Corvette and slam it out, and it would be shorter than the Corvette and probably still go to the drag strip and smoke it. It was so cool. But that's probably the picture you'll find if you Google I95 muscle. You see a little flame truck up there, and that's the one that was probably my favorite.
His license plate said Limbo. It was so but we've had a bunch of nice Chevelles through here, a couple big off-road trucks, a couple slam trucks, stuff that sticks out in your mind a little bit. Personally, I like the Superior K5, which is known as a Bronco.
There we go.
The Ford Bronco is probably...
How'd that what happened on truck night last night?
Oh, I don't watch that.
Oh, okay.
The Bronco came in second because the lady couldn't use her winch. To a K5 Blazer at that. But, and it was a way more expensive Bronco than K5.
Yeah, it was way more expensive.
But I've got a white 96 Bronco right now, and I've always wanted a white 96 Bronco. So that was
It's a pretty good looking Bronco.
a good goal to hit. But I don't, car-wise, I kind of lean towards the newer era and go with the Z06, man. I think the Z06 is a lot of car for the money.
Yeah.
Then I drove that Viper out there, the 05 Viper, and I was trying to decide on if I would buy another $40,000 car, if it would be another Z06 or if it would be the Viper, and I think I'd go with the Viper this time.
Why? What makes that different?
Well, it sounds different, the V10, and the exhaust comes out like right by your hip.
Okay.
So you get to hear it a lot more.
How many Corvettes do you see versus how many Vipers you see?
Yeah, the Corvettes are a lot more common.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I just think it's a little bit cooler of a car. Super long front end to house the V10, and like it still has some rake, like a.
Yeah, it's got that very iconic long hood. Like, you know it as soon as you see the profile, and that's.
I think the cool thing with the Viper is like no traction control. You know, everything feels very analog. It's not like you're driving a new car. You're driving new technology and pretty much like a good handling old car. Pretty much, it's pretty cool.
Like the gauges look like white face auto meters. Like they're the original gauges, but they look like old school. Yeah, I could see that a lot.
Yeah.
So probably go back with a Viper now. But.
That's. Yeah, you don't see Vipers like Corvettes.
Well, when you do, all right. If you're just driving down 95 and you see Corvette coming the other way.
Yeah.
Is there a dollar tag that pops in your head?
No, it's,
You
you're
just
like,
think Corvette?
yeah, it's Corvette on, they're like, yeah, someone spent some money on it, but it's not.
Mine's like 50K. If I
Yeah.
see well, probably because we deal with cars so often.
Yeah.
I just see a Corvette that's a C6 or C7, I'm like 50K. But if I see a Viper, even if it's a Gen 1 that's a $25,000 Viper now, I'm like 80 grand. I just think 80 grand when I see a Viper.
Yeah.
Why?
We kind of hit on this earlier, but what makes I-95 Muscle different than like most dealerships you run into in the area? Like what's that thing that really sets you apart?
Well, we're indoors, so when you got some really bad weather like today, you come in, you look around, so that's a big helpful aspect of things. I think there's other stores out there that might do classic cars or consignment cars, but I don't feel like they're willing to do trade-ins like we are, or the level of consignment might be, it has to be a certain level before they would consider it. I feel like we're a little bit more open and personable with the type of customers that would want to utilize us or come see us. So that might be a couple of good things, but
Yeah, inventory, experience, and then I don't know of any other store that's indoor until you get to Lillington for East Coast Classic Cars, or Myrtle Beach has one, and there's 3 in Charlotte, Street Side Classics, I think.
Okay. So I think you kind of hit on one of the big things you said, like versus like you work in the bigger corporate chains, just the way the interaction was between the customer walking in versus now is the owners and the operators of it. You personally know all this. You're running the numbers. Like you're in touch with every part of the process. You're working that whole spectrum, not just the back room, but you're also the show floor. And does that bring like a whole different kind of experience versus like the salesman who's just on the floor and they know they've got a number to meet this month?
yeah, for sure.
I think working with one person is something that most of our customers appreciate, because if you just went to one of the franchise stores, you're going to talk to 4, 5, or 6 people. You can't avoid it. You've got, like if you use Rick Hendrick Toyota for an example, which all the Rick Hendrick stores use the same process, and that's great. They're one of the companies that still trains everybody on the same program, but you will, if you inquired online, you're going to have somebody call you that's a BDC rep.
Okay.
So they're going to set your appointment. You're going to go to their store. You're going to ask for that person. You're going to show up, meet somebody. So that's person number 2. They're going to go get this person. She's going to introduce you to either the person you were just with or somebody else.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be your product specialist that tells you everything about the car and takes you on your test drive. You come back and you go over numbers with somebody else. If you don't agree to your monthly payment with that person, they're going to get their closer or their sales manager. So you've talked to 5 people before you've bought the car.
Yeah.
And then even if you agreed with the 4th person, the sales manager still comes over and says thank you. So you met a 5th guy. And then they take you back and introduce you to the service and parts people. So there's 2 more. Then you meet with the finance person. Then you go over your technology with the person after you're done with your paperwork, who shows you how to work every button in your car. So you've talked to 10 people just to buy a car, and it took 4 hours. And then they get mad when they call you in 6 months and you forgot your salesperson's name.
Yeah, one of the things that, there's a certain level of ridiculousness, and I was reading a book not too long ago where I was like, Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman, and he made the comparison of like the sales between, like if you were dating someone and like you decide we're going to do this and get married, and then the day of the wedding, someone else is standing up there. And yeah, that's what people are constantly doing in their sales, is you're working with this one sales rep or this person, and then when it comes time to close the deal, you get handed off to some other person in the organization you've never met, the account manager or whoever, that closer, that finance person. You're like, but I liked Bob, the sales guy. He was nice. Like, why am I sitting here at Gina's desk? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think that's especially as we've gotten like so automated. Like, I mean, we live in the world of Amazon and Uber, that having that human aspect, like actually walk in and I know who to talk to, like, we actually shake hands and make a deal. That's a big thing I think people are starting to go back to, is they want that hassle gone. They're tired of the 1-800 number. They just want to talk to a real person. Like the number of times I have to call someone, I'm like, if I have to push 0 one more time and get lost in this phone tree, or get transferred 6 more times to finally get an answer, I think we're getting in a period where that's just, people are tired of it. They're tired of getting treated like a number in the system. And if you have an organization where you can walk in and it's that person and you can work with them. I think that's becoming a really big differentiator in organizations, from just like the machine that grinds customers and sales through versus like, hey, let's actually have coffee and talk about it and find something that wins for both of us and solves the problem.
I feel like for every person that wants that, there's another person that doesn't want to talk to anybody at all and only wants to do the Amazon Prime.
What's that, Carvana?
Yeah, put a Honda Accord on my doorstep in 2 days because I don't want to talk to anybody.
I think we're getting at a point where in a lot of ways we're splitting. There's this high-low mix. Like either you got to be like very boutique, hands-on specialty, or it's super commoditized. I'll order it and have it here in 2 days. Like that middle ground is starting to disappear. You're just you're the hands-on craftsman, or you're the Walmarts and the Amazons that are just pushing stuff at scale.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like, I think, again, like kind of looking at like big picture, I think that's kind of a trend we're seeing. We're getting into like the Ubers and the Amazons of the world versus like the mom and pop craftsman down the street that they know all their customers and can tell you every detail of everything they sell. And those are very different experiences that are going to appeal to very different people. Have you found like that hands-on is an advantage when you're talking to someone, like it's going to be the same person through the process?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, salespeople have a way of like mistreating people, and here we know that when we deal with a person face to face and see this all the way through to the end, whatever feedback they're going to have for us is going to be based on us alone.
Yeah.
We don't have a salesperson we can blame, and they're going to get a bad survey and whatever. We don't even get surveys here, but I think we have some of the best reviews that we could ask for only being open for 3 years. And what do we have, like 60 something reviews on Google or something?
I think it's close to 100 or so, but it's 4.9. I don't know if any other dealership has something over 4.9 unless they're paying a company to leave them thousands of fake reviews.
Yeah, I think that, just that says a lot. Because people, when it comes to reviews, they either tend to leave really good ones or really bad ones. Like, I think everything I've looked at, there's very rarely a middle, like a 3-star. It's always, this was the best, or this is, total junk. So to have a 4.9 or something like that, it just, says a lot about you were so good that someone actually went out of their way to say something good about it. And people tend to be way louder when things aren't right.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So as the owners, what has like been one of the biggest surprises for you as you've gone into business for yourself? And how did you deal with it as like that thing no one told you was coming happened?
Oh, there's nobody to go to for the right answer. You have to make that decision. You can consult and try to make it as a group, but you don't have that dealer principal or general manager that you had through all the other jobs you had to kind of rely on for the right answer.
I think for me it would be, and I mentioned this briefly in the car today, is like maintaining a good working relationship with all the local businesses around. We reach out to pretty much anybody locally, trying to give them, we're trying to pay people money to have them help us fix this car, fix that car, and we have a lot of work done on a lot of our cars, and it's like sometimes people just don't care, and I feel like that customer that gets taken advantage of sometimes. And we have a really good working relationship with a good handful of local businesses, and half of them are veteran owned, and half of them are, most of them are small mom and pop shops. So we definitely try to support that. So there's definitely like that aspect of like building a community, and you hit on like there's no one else to go to. It's easy to make fun of the boss when you have the manager, in corporate. Oh, it's corporate's fault. It's the project manager's fault. My boss is a dweeb. But when you're sitting in the chair, like I can remember when I first got started, like getting into drone work, and I had a month where like no one called me. No one emailed me, like no one was replying to my messages, and I had to sit there and like look in the mirror and have this like really sober moment, and it's like, it's all your fault. Like it is completely you. Like you.
It's not the man.
Yeah,
you down.
Yeah, no, I am the man, and I screwed up. Like that was like I can remember that just being like one of those like really sobering moments when you look into the mirror and going, it's all my fault. But I also found that to be like a really liberating experience at the same time, because if it's all my fault, I can fix it.
Yep.
It's completely in my hands.
There's a lot of time spent when I'm supposed to be sleeping that is, what else can I do? Or what else could I have done? Or what else should I be doing? So.
I think that's one aspect a lot of people don't talk about, like you going from like being a technician or you know, a mid-level manager, and you finally decide now is the time I'm gonna you know, start my own thing, and making that switch from being the technician to the manager to being the owner operator, where you are the firefighter. It's all your fault. You're the last line of defense. You know, if something didn't happen, it's because you didn't make it happen. And I think that's like, you know, I'm almost done with a degree in business, and like it like the practitionership of being a human trying to make an organization work is something I don't think we spend enough time talking about what that actually means. So.
I know we could probably pop back into any position at any of those franchise stores and do it 10 times better than we ever did before, just because we've had to do it all. It's either do it all or close the doors, so
Yeah.
you don't have too much of an option. You know?
You have that option of sink or swim, and sinking isn't an option.
Yep.
It's not the one you want to choose anyways.
How do you think people's perception of business has changed over the years? Like, I can think of like when I first got out of high school, like, you know, after 08 and the recession, there was like the Occupy, and everyone was like blame the man. But now after like a decade of fairly good economics, it seems like a lot of places like entrepreneurship's gotten kind of cool. Like, have you seen like that kind of trend, or like what do you think like people see about like business in general and how that's shifted?
I think people have a shield up just because there's so many scammers out there. The 10 phone calls you get from anonymous numbers a day that are people just trying to get affordable health care, or Sarah from the warranty department that's not real, and they definitely have a shield up. So almost like they feel like any business is out to get them. Mm-hmm. So them finding a place that they're comfortable to do business with is probably a little bit harder than, you know, being offended or something. Like if you go to a brewery, you might find a beer that you want for $5, and you might really enjoy the beer, but on your way back to the table, somebody might bump into you and spill your beer, and now you're never going to go to that brewery again because you had a bad experience that had nothing to do with that brewery.
Yeah.
So it's just like people use that shield to try to hide behind it, find an excuse not to go to a couple different places. Probably not the best analogy, but it's what came to my mind.
Yeah, so I think that is one of those like very uphill battles. It only takes one bad experience to like really turn someone off, and unfortunately, a lot of us, we are the victim of other people's bad acts in the industry, and it taints your industry as a whole.
And that's actually what I was just thinking. So he had mentioned the brewery. Let's say someone goes to that brewery, they have a bad experience. Let's say it's with the brewery themselves or whatever. Mm-hmm. They might just stay away from all breweries now. Yeah. And I was thinking about that while you were answering. You know, we get people that inquire with us, meaning they're reaching out to us for some information on a vehicle or a question or a price or something, and we're trying to call them and they don't answer. They don't respond to the email, and you know, it's like they think that we're out to get them. Or you know, we do get a hold of occasionally some of those people that might be like that, and they realize who we are and they hang up right away. And we're like, just tell me you're not interested. I'll stop following up with you.
This is like 15 minutes after they went to our website and put in their phone number and said, please call me about the Camaro. And we call them about the Camaro, and they're like, oh, hang it.
Yeah.
Block number permanently.
I think that's unfortunately like because of like, you know, I mean the do not call list exists, but sales has got so aggressive, and I think it burned a lot of people. That's one of the things I've noticed. Is there's been like a big shift because for so long businesses yelled at people through the mass media. They auto dialed people, and we just got tired of getting beat down by the marketing machine. Mm-hmm. And now that we have like social media, it's becoming much more about following and brand and earning your audience. Yeah. And I'm hoping that's a shift as social media eats television and radio and print alive. We get back to more of the mom and pop, like I know the people in my community, whether it's the physical community or like, you know, the common interest community, because, you know, we might not be in the same town, but we all have the same interest in this circle. And I'm hoping that, you know, as companies, we can do a better job of like building that community. And that's really more of like, you get into like the branding, when people know you're this, and people come to you for that. Like, I mean, think about, we all know Chick-fil-A's closed on Sunday. That's just who they are. But they're, I think, an example of a company that's done a really good job of who they are and making themselves exceedingly clear about that. And I think that's done a lot to help kind of like the image of fast food, because you got like, you know, there was the fast food scene, and now there's Chick-fil-A, and they shifted the perception. And I think, you know, while one bad player can ruin an industry, I think you also have like, you know, some like real, you know, A-level people that are doing a lot to like really, you know, restore that for the, you know, like, no, there is a better way.
What stood out about our store versus some of the other ones that you wanted to sit down and find out more about us?
You have this feel like it's personal. There's like a history. There's like, you know, there's just, you can tell someone put time into it. Like when you look at your pictures, it's unique. Last year at Better Block, I ran into Kelly was out there, and we had one of your trucks out there, and just like actually taking the time to talk to someone, like, hey, this is who we are. And you guys have this feel like, you know, when you look at your stuff, you can tell it's local. It's not this like super spammy, hey guys, we're great, you should buy our stuff, like you see from like the bigger corporate players.
You should get plaid shirts.
Yeah, and you can talk about your JD Power Associate Awards while you throw.
Yeah.
Like,
We should get plaid shorts and the corduroys and just bring back the 70s scammy car sales guy.
I mean,
maybe one day a year. One day a year.
that could be.
It'd be like Dick's Last Resort for car dealerships.
Yeah.
It could be like the anchor man of car sales, sort of like the horrible polyester suit.
My Chevy Silverado.
That's the pleat in my pants.
Yeah, there you go.
But you know, that's, I mean, there's a reason used car salesmen have gotten a bad rep over the years. I mean, it's become like, it's like them, the tax man. Like, there's just certain people, like everyone's like, why? But like you guys, you know, like just looking at like what you're doing on social media, there's a very different feel. Like you can tell there's a person behind it. And I think that's a distinguisher when someone can tell someone cares. And someone, you know, they're taking ownership. It's not just some cookie cutter corporate plan that's spewing out the same 6 commercials every 3 seconds.
We've been throwing around this idea of like just making fun of the scammy car commercial, and just being like kind of like an advertisement that's obviously for customers to hear, but targeting the scammy dealerships and just being like, you know, hey, commercialists that talk real fast at the end of the commercial, and y'all too, y'all loud yelly dealers, and like go into stop treating your customers like garbage.
Well, you think about some of the, you can run against other people. I mean, there's definitely, you look at some of the best success stories have been people, they found everything wrong with their industry, and then they've aggressively gone in and fixed it.
Yeah.
Like everyone hates flying, but people kind of like Southwest. They're a little bit different, and
Sit where you want to sit.
yeah, like we're not gonna charge you an arm and a leg for a bag. Like, I mean, but they found everything that everyone didn't like about flying, and then they fixed it. And there's been plenty of you can dig through the books, you can find plenty of examples of companies. They looked around their industry, found everything everyone hated, and then they became everything. Like they fixed that whole process, and suddenly, you know, there's like all of them, and they're way ahead by a lot. And I think that would be kind of a fun project.
I'm just a little scared to do it. Maybe we could do it as a YouTube video and not so much as a radio advertisement, because if it ever did turn to a point where I needed a job at one of those stores again, I'd be like, didn't you have a commercial where you bashed us pretty bad? Not with me.
You should have been like, that was the other guy.
Yeah.
And I'll say the same thing.
It was Carl.
Carl. That was
Carl. Yeah.
No, I think actually that would be fun as a YouTube piece. Like if people want to know people, so just being in front of the camera, like, hey, we're real people. I use the example like The Office should have never worked as a TV show.
Oh, it was great.
Seinfeld should have never worked as a TV show. Like anything of some of like the most iconic sitcoms, they were about nothing, but it was the characters that attracted people to the shows. There wasn't some great grand plot. It was just the shenanigans of the characters. They interacted with each other.
I'm not smart enough for The Office. I need I need that married with children laughing reel to tell me when something is funny. I don't know when to laugh at the office.
It is a very dry humor in a lot of the times.
Parks and Rec, I just know to laugh when Chris Pratt's done talking. Like, I can figure that much out. But The Office, man, and I like Steve Carell. I think he's hilarious, but I can't get into the show, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, why not do that? I mean, we can get Jesse to film a few episodes. We can,
You just need us to do that awkward look
Yeah.
at the camera at the end.
And it like zooms in real quick.
yeah.
Like we know he's filming, and that was funny. You should laugh.
That was supposed to be Phyllis.
As we like more and more people abandon television. Like I haven't had cable in probably close to a decade. Like I mean, we're going to the Netflix, YouTube, Hulu world. Why not make your company The Office or like the next version of like I'm sure you got some characters in here. Like there's some shenanigans. We've all been in that office. There's that one guy. We've got that one character that people will have people rolling or just scratching their heads
We
like,
have a
what?
pretty strict HR department here, so.
So the thing that's still really fake on TV are the shows that actually work on the cars.
Yeah.
Not so much Gas Monkey, but like the Saturday morning Truck Nations or whatever they are. It's like, we're going to be putting a supercharger on this truck today. First thing you got to do is take off the intake manifold. And they're like, and then it goes to commercial for Royal Purple for like 15 minutes. They come back from the commercial break, they're tightening up the last bolt. All right, let's fire up this supercharged Camaro.
Like an 8-hour job became 30 minutes.
I think it'd be funny to have a real garage show where you show yourself hitting your head under the car like 7 times and that you had to go back to the toolbox because you got the wrong socket 4 times. And I think that would do a little better than...
We can set up like the draft cam or like remember when that zoo had the draft, like everyone was just waiting to watch it. We can just do the garage cam live streamed.
We already got him. We already got him.
Yeah, we saved the reels of when we fall on camera. We go back and save that little clip.
He's bombing outside in the driveway one day on his skateboard, and he hits a pebble, man, and he rolls off his skateboard, and his sunglasses go 15 feet away.
I was flying.
Amber falling on the little board.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a 3-year-old that comes in. It's my daughter, and my wife was riding my daughter's little Power Wheels right here in the hallway, and sure enough, she just
Bam! Oh man, that was a good one. We'll send
we
you
had
the
to save
clip.
it,
You
yeah.
can work it in. We'll send you the clip. It's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if people saw something like that, like just how real that becomes versus I'm a perfectly polished commercial with a carefully scripted script, and watch me do this lighting trick as I shove this toolbox into a bed of a pickup truck in a carefully choreographed commercial that no one will notice.
Oh no. They just removed a 50-year-old transmission and their hands are this clean.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, no, I think everyone's gotten to the point like we've kind of had enough of the perfectly scripted. Like I can think of some of my favorite YouTube channels have some of the like worst camera work, but the people are like you can tell they're legitimately that's who they are.
there's these British guys. I need to find out what they're called. I can't remember it.
old Greg.
No.
I've seen that.
I'm old Greg. No, there's these British guys that are kind of like Dude Perfect, but all they do is throw stuff off this 165 meter tall dam. And like they'll just throw a bowling ball off to watch it shatter at the bottom, or they'll see if they can hit a trampoline at the bottom. And like finally when they do, the bowling ball almost goes back up to the top.
That's crazy.
And it wrecked the trampoline. But like, they play golf off the top of it, and they're oddly entertaining. I'll look up the name of it at the end here. We can give them a shameless plug.
Since you both own this, has anyone ever told you you're lucky to be where you are today?
Everybody thinks you're rich already, so I don't know. Everybody thinks.
People walk through the door and they talk about how much of a dream job it is, and sometimes I feel like I do take it for granted because it really is a dream job. I mean, it's so awesome to be able to come in and, first of all, just help people out, like young soldiers get in a car or, people that need help. I mean, I'm all about giving free advice, not that that's worth anything, but, they do say you're so lucky, and the first thing I think is if you only knew, but at the same time, I really am lucky, so I do think that I'm lucky and don't want to take it for granted, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I think about like a lot of the people I went to school with. I graduated, joined the Army, took a chance, And like, a lot of them are still doing like the same thing. And then you go like, oh, you're lucky. And I'm like, saying someone who's successful, you're lucky, is like looking at a guy who's coming back from the pond with a fishing pole in his hand with a bucket full of fish, saying, you're so lucky you caught so many fish. Crazy thing, when you work hard and you go fishing in a pond with a fishing pole, you're gonna catch fish. Like, it takes real work. And you got other people standing in a cornfield going, I don't know why I don't have any fish. You're so lucky to go fishing in a pond. Like, and that, I think that's one of the things I don't think people don't appreciate, how much work actually goes into being, you know, the last line of defense. Everything falls on you at the end of the day, owning it, like the amount of work it actually takes to build, not just build a business, but like run it. I mean, that's like those first few weeks and months where you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do. And so one of the things, like coming from like my background, like working in psychological operations and like dealing in marketing, that's something I'm really big about, is how do you communicate with people. And so what are some of the ways you've been marketing, communicating to like let people know what you do, what you have available, and how's that been working for you? Have you had like really great things that have been awesome and worked for, and other things that you thought would be great and were total flops?
The few things that come to mind right off the bat is we work well with all the local car clubs, you know, in the community, to host car shows or different types of events like that. I think we did a burnout contest one night.
Show movies every
we
once
do
in a while
movie
for
nights.
free. We
Yeah.
can project those up on the wall, and people bring like their own camping chairs, and we set it up with surround sound and play. We did all 7 of the Fast and Furious movies leading up to the 8th one that came out. We showed cars out there for like a kids night, and we go over to Millstone and get like the industrial size bags of popcorn for people to snack on and stuff. We got Customer Appreciation Day coming up. I think it's April 20th, where we're setting up like a barbecue pit, and I'll be able to grill out free food for whoever wants to come out and stuff like that. So.
But yeah, market. I mean, I think we try social media a lot. Have we had any flopped
Maybe some
marketing ideas?
I don't know. It's like the radio ad I had that targeted full-size trucks. I think we got like 3 hits on that, and it was $1,500.
We were trying to buy trucks.
Yeah, so that probably wasn't the best ROI, but they say radio's the shotgun approach. You throw it out there and hopefully a pellet catches somebody.
Yeah, when you look at like traditional media, it's a very broad reach and it's not very specific. So if you want to hit a large audience, radio, TV, print are good, but the amount of attention, like how many people are even listening to a radio versus, like, I'm usually streaming Pandora or YouTube in my car. Like, I mean, the chance of me even hearing a commercial that's broadcast is pretty slim, versus like saying you're doing those like community events and you're not directly trying to sell, but you're just generating awareness and interest because you're in the same room as people. That's like much more of a marketing and branding end versus like the sales. We're having a weekend sale. You ought to come down here and get a rebate. That's not going to happen because we don't have that car in stock.
Yeah, but I have a character like that I refer to as Sneaky Pete that sometimes I'll do on the Instagram story. And Sneaky Pete here with their car, a scammy kind of guy. But we'll do inventory update videos, and then we do like car of the day, where we'll take a car outside and fire it up, drive it around, and it's just like a video on a cell phone, but it's something real. If you live in Texas, that's the closest you might get to driving that car. You know what I mean? So.
Tip Tuesday lasted like all of one Tuesday.
I think we did 2, maybe. Did 2 Tip Tuesdays, didn't work out.
No, that was a flop. Maybe that was a flop. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe some people appreciated it. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
So we could go like super deep into the whiteboard about what works and what doesn't, but that'd be another video for another day.
Yeah. Another time. We'll take that advice greatly, though.
So what are some of the trends you've seen in the car world, like how things are changing, whether it be directly in the cars, how they're sold, like people's expectation, how's the auto world shifted?
Get back into horsepower, so that's good. Manufacturers have figured out how to make 400, 500, 600, 700 horsepower cars and still get 15, 20, 25, 30 miles a gallon. So like the Ford 10-speed, they get a 460 horsepower Mustang with a 10-speed transmission, so you can have a bunch of power, you can use the power, and then when you're not, you can get 26 miles a gallon. So.
Or 9 miles a gallon, like your Trackhawk.
That was a 5,200 horsepower 700, or 5,200 pound 707 horsepower vehicle, and think it got 10 and a half, maybe.
Smiles.
Yeah, lots of miles per gallon. Thing hit a G and like a G and a half on launch.
Wow.
Move your guts around, man. It was scary.
Yeah. You see like how like more and more manufacturers are talking about electric and autonomous. Do you see that? Is that going to create like a rift or like a weird change coming up, or do you think?
I feel like Tesla's coming to mind, so I'm sure that's one of the ones we might be talking about. But I feel like there's going to be people out there that are like diehard gasoline engine, no Prius or Tesla in my life anytime soon. But I also feel like times are changing, people are changing, so people are actually finding a way to enjoy those cars. They're actually pretty fast. Me personally, I haven't driven one yet, so I'm looking forward to it, but it should be fun. I have noticed like it's surprising how many people might actually consider trading in their much newer car for a classic, because that's happened a handful of times, more often than you would imagine. And so maybe it's changing in that way some, where people are valuing classic cars a little more than something they could just go to any old dealership and buy, So
Is it the EMF bomb that would wipe out all electromagnetic fields?
Yeah, the EMP.
There have been a couple
EMP,
people, EMP.
Yeah.
There are a couple people that have bought carbureted vehicles from us specifically preparing for that event. Like
Doomsday preppers.
They're like, when doomsday comes, your car's not going to start, but mine will. It's like, all right, well, good luck getting gasoline for it when you need it,
Or good luck making your distributor control module work after that.
I hope that never happens. Your cell phone's just a piece of plastic at that point.
Yeah, there's varying debates how realistic some of that is, just because of, a car's metal box, so it's kind of it shields everything inside of it. And you look at I'm not like an engineer guy, but I do know, like from my time in IT, like we shield cables and stuff like that. Your computers are sensitive to stuff like that, but we've also done a lot in the IT world that hardens computers and stuff like that against stuff like that. So I'm always kind of like, I kind of look at people like maybe, but I'm not going to bet the farm on it.
Yeah. Hey, if you're worried about it, just stop on in and pick up a carbureted car. We got one.
So what are some of the trends you've seen in Fayetteville and how things have changed since you've been here? Like, I got here in 07 when I got stationed here, and I never left. And I've noticed some things over the last decade. What are some of the things you've noticed that have changed?
It physically looks like a cleaner city. The air, the air quality's higher, the sky's bluer, the buildings are prettier, so like they got rid of all that stuff on Skybo and put in that nice little place where World of Beer and Mission Barbecue are now. That looks way better than the dilapidated mattress store that was there.
There was a nightclub over there too. What was it?
Oh yeah, the Shady Lady or something.
No, I think that one was Bragg Boulevard.
Was it?
I remember like when they bulldozed a lot of that stuff for $2.95. That suddenly Bragg Boulevard looked a whole lot nicer.
Things are looking nicer. I think Fayetteville as a city is and it's one of those things where when you're stuck here as a young soldier, like I was stuck here in 2005. I got here. And deployed for 15 months, came back. So 2008 is when I got out, and I couldn't wait to move away. I was thinking, I got to get away from Fayetteville. Don't like it. It's no fun. And long story short, I ended up coming back to work on Fort Bragg as a government contractor, and I like it. I like helping soldiers. I like being around soldiers. The military community is awesome. It's one of those things where when you're not stuck here, like when you're not a young soldier stuck here, you don't know anybody, it's a whole lot of fun, and it's actually a really nice city. So
Downtown looks great now too. I guess the stadium's going to be done in the next month or two. That thing looks like a great feat of technology that Fayetteville needed, and then they're redoing the Prince Charles Hotel to be luxury apartments that look over the stadium, so that's going to look good. But all the little stores that have, the chalkboard sign stores, you got Prest, and it's probably one of our favorites, but...
their Instagram page, like some of the stuff they post, I'm just like rolling laughing at some of those shirts and stuff.
Lake Gaston and places like that, Bright Light, it's just cool places that weren't there 4 years ago.
Yeah, that was.
And they were empty buildings, and now it's a fun place that is always full of people no matter what day of the week. So live music you can catch at any of those places. They all have their little contests or bingos or trivias, or there's something to do every night of the week that doesn't cost a bunch of money, and I don't think that was the case 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that was, like I said, I've been gone about nine months, and that was one thing that stood out to me last week. I was down on Hay Street for some meetings, and I was like, there's like all sorts of fun little shops that have popped up in the last couple of years, and with the stadium, of course, as soon as they said, we're going to build a stadium downtown, I was like, where's everybody going to park? Now they've got that garage going up, so that's going to be interesting to see how that's going to change the attention on the downtown area. Because I remember when I first got to Bragg, like Bragg Boulevard, that whole stretch heading towards downtown it was a dump. That was
Down where Nissan used to be.
yeah. There's parts of Baghdad I've been in that felt safer.
And now there's the Airborne Museum.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous, and
Yeah, that is.
they've got a couple different memorials right there, the Freedom Memorial and stuff.
Yeah, it just has a much cleaner, nicer. There's a lot of. I think you got the new transit center. That's just this amazing glass architecture that.
3 windows don't match though. They got 3 purple windows and a bunch of blue ones, but that's all right.
Minor detail.
Fayetteville Run Club meets downtown, and you get to run through those, and you see a lot of stuff you don't notice driving around when you're running around out of breath. Like the tax services of Fayetteville has a 95 Bronco back there that I want to buy, and nobody knows who owns it or how I can buy it. It says tax services on the side. I know you have it, Cumberland County. I'm coming for it.
So one of the big things that's been going on in Cumberland County has been the never-ending 295 project. I think they've got the overpass over Cliffdale now. Like, how do you think that's going to change Fayetteville?
That's the year that it's going to be done.
Yeah,
2095.
at the rate they're going.
It'll be like Charlotte that has, 485 that goes around it, and 40 goes around Raleigh.
Yeah.
So it'll just get you around town quicker. It'll lighten up all that Skybo traffic for sure. And right now, it's kind of like the laces of a football with Rayford Road and Cliffdale and McPherson Church, and then what's the other one way over there? Starts with an M too, Murchison.
Yeah.
And Skybo connects all of them.
Yeah.
So if you can get from one to the other 295, you don't have to take Skybo.
Yeah. I remember when I first got here, it was forever to get out to Ramsey and that end of town if you lived on the west side. Depending on which side of town you lived on, you just weren't going to the other end of town because there was no good way to get there. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I've noticed is now I can get on 295 and I can get out to the edge of the county a whole lot quicker. It used to take almost as long to drive across Fayetteville as it did to go from 95 to Raleigh. So I'm hoping as that finishes up and connects the city, it'll be a lot easier to get people from each side of town to actually go check out the other side of town. And especially as Bragg Boulevard and all the new stuff going in downtown, I think that's helped shift the reputation of that area. So hopefully we'll see some more interaction as people start to come across the city and not sit in the never-ending traffic of Rayford and Skybo.
Gosh, the Cliffdale to Skybo at 5 o'clock. Well, that's 3 cars through.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3 red.
Yeah.
Well, it's crazy how Hopemills Road backs up on Camden
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
No, we
It's
were-
like,
At least that
You're
one's
gonna be
like
there.
10 cars through though.
Yeah.
no, yeah, but still there's 100 cars lined up.
Yeah.
So it's 10 light changes.
And they just
to go
changed
through.
it to where 2 lanes go left, there's a dead lane, 1 lane goes right. They only have 1 lane that goes straight. So it's
Yeah.
all the way back up
It's
to,
because after the intersection there's only 1 lane.
well,
It
because
splits into 2 'cause
there's
a turn
3,
lane, but
there's 3, but 1 goes to Walgreens, 1 is a turning lane
Yeah.
for Walmart, and there is only 1 that goes
Yep.
straight. So
Yeah.
I guess it was bottlenecking there, but,
Yeah, so that's,
and now there's construction there.
yeah, there's always construction. So, I'm gonna let you guys give the shameless plug of how people can follow you, check out what you're doing, all your platforms, your website, how they can get a hold of you if they want to, see what you're doing.
We make it extremely difficult. We use I95 muscle for all of our tags and stuff. It's so hard to find. Instagram's I95 muscle, Facebook /I95 muscle, website's i95muscle.com, email address is i95muscle@gmail.com, phone number is 910-429-0195. We got a little 95 in there too.
Yeah, nice.
It was hard. It took me like 30 minutes to pick that phone number out. All the good ones were taken.
Yeah, I ran into the same thing. I was trying to get a Google Voice number. I was like, why? I love that you're shamelessly rocking the Gmail.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. And then there is a YouTube channel, same thing, I95 Muscle. And,
Yeah, I was poking around in preparation for this. I'm like, what do they got going on? Let's go digging through the YouTube.
there we go.
So,
But did you see some of like the car of the day videos or anything?
yeah, it was.
Fire them up and
Yeah, I spent a while digging down through the rabbit hole just to see.
maybe we should make 2.
But I'm like one of those like weird people. Like I like reverse engineer things, and like I will go into the nuts and bolts of stuff.
I need to make channels.
So
I'll put it on the to-do list. I'm sorry.
put it on the big whiteboard of things to do.
It's right back there.
There's one on the other side of the wall. Yeah.
It's right back there.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
Well, appreciate spending the time with us and showing us around. It was
Pleasure.
fun.
Thanks for hanging
Glad we
out.
could be a focal point for you. Appreciate you thinking about us. You want to see some cars?